How's it going, everyone? I've got another fun commander deck for you today, and that's Thassa, Deep Dwelling. We're going for maximum greed as we abuse ETB triggers to gain massive card advantage, bounce creatures, or counter spells. It's so greedy, in fact, that we'll be taking our opponent's spells and permanents as well, stealing our way to victory. Thassa, Deep Dwelling is a 6/5 for 3 and a blue with the typical god clause of indestructible and requiring devotion to be a creature. Her ability reads, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to one other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. She also has the ability to pay 3 and a blue to tap another creature, but the blink ability is what we're interested in. This powerful effect from the command zone means we can essentially guarantee doubling up on our ETB effects. Pair that with indestructible and you have an engine that's very difficult to interact with. Importantly, it also returns the creature under your control. Keep that in mind as we move forward. The game plan is very straightforward. We want to play ETB creatures that either replace themselves or have some form of utility, then rebuy these effects with one of the many blink effects included in the list. Our sneaky secret, however, is employing multiple mind control effects, and then using blink effects which allow us to keep those permanents forever. This deck can win through value alone, however, a definitive win condition is present in the form of 2 separate combos, which we will go over later. When it comes to ramp, we run a pretty small assortment. This deck doesn't need to hit a large amount of mana quickly, and getting Thassa out ASAP isn't always the best option, as playing an ETB creature before casting Thassa allows us to get immediate use out of her end of turn blink. Cards like Merchant of Secrets and Seagate Oracle give us straightforward card advantage, while effects like Tribute Mage allow us to tutor the cards appropriate for the situation. After our commander hits the table, we want to start casting higher CMC ETB creatures, as generally the higher the mana cost, the more powerful the effect. We are also running Panharmonicon and Naban, Dean of Iteration, allowing us to double up on our ETB effects when the creatures hit the field. Keep in mind that Naban specifically cares about wizards entering, but with the high density of wizards in our list, you won't even notice this requirement. Let's talk about how we'll be interacting with our opponents. A common effect in this deck is bouncing creatures. This will generally be used on our opponent's creatures, however, there are instances where bouncing our own creatures can be more significant. A powerful effect in this category is Scourge of Fleets. This bounces multiple creatures for each opponent when it enters. Depending on the situation, this can be a soft lock on your opponent when it comes to interacting through combat, as Thassa will allow you to blink this on each of your end steps. Aside from the creature bouncing, there are effects that let us return permanents or spells to the hand, as well as exiling creatures permanently. We won't be using just creatures to slow down our opponents, and since we're playing blue, countering spells is one of our most powerful effects. Stopping key pieces for our opponent is one thing, but it's important to determine when to hold these counters, as you may need to combo off at a moment's notice, and protection will help you seal the deal. There's also a small selection of creature removal. While these spells are powerful, we often would rather take those creatures for ourselves. I mentioned earlier the importance of blink effects, namely our commander, that return the exiled permanent under your control. This is important as lingering effects of a mind control spell or ability that would return it to the original owner will no longer be there when it returns. Cards like Chamber of Manipulation and Sower of Temptation are easily repeatable considering their nature as permanents, but we also use a few instants to achieve the same thing. Keep in mind that cards such as Reigns of Power and Domineering Will have utility outside of just abusing our blink effects, as protecting yourself from damage, finding new ways to attack our opponents, or making deals with another player will all help us achieve victory. Speaking of victory, I'd like to explain the 2 key combos we'll be using, starting with Narumeha, Master Wizard, and Ghostly Flicker. Narumeha is 2 blue for a 3/3 human wizard with flash that copies an instant or sorcery spell we control when it enters the battlefield. Aside from being an all-around powerful effect, it also gives other wizards +1/+1, so make sure to use this card when appropriate, as holding it until you can attempt a combo isn't always correct. Ghostly Flicker is an instant for 2 and a blue that reads, exile 2 target artifacts, creatures, and/or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. The combo may have popped out at you already, but if not, no worries. I'll be explaining it to you step by step right now. The simplest way to accomplish this combo is having 7 islands, as well as Ghostly Flicker and Narumeha. We will tap all those lands to float 7 blue mana. After that, we will cast Ghostly Flicker, targeting 2 of our tapped islands. Now, with the remaining 4 blue mana, cast Narumeha, targeting our Ghostly Flicker. This will put another copy of Ghostly Flicker on the stack. With the new Ghostly Flicker, target an island and Narumeha. Allow this copy to resolve, and when the 2 permanents return, tap the island to float a blue, and use Narumeha's ETB effect, targeting the original Ghostly Flicker. We have now demonstrated a loop. From here, you can keep resolving the loop to achieve infinite blue mana, but I'd like to go over some other lines, as the non-Narumeha target can be any permanent you please. If it's Sunscorched Desert, gain infinite colorless mana and deal infinite damage to your opponents. How about milling them all out with Overwhelmed Apprentice? Agent of Treachery lets us take control of every permanent on the table, lands and all. Rashaten Cutpurse forces our opponents to sacrifice all of their permanents, assuming they don't have access to infinite mana as well. Last but certainly not least, any draw effect, allowing us to find every piece in our deck, letting you play out any of the lines mentioned above, or keeping it clean and winning through Thassa's Oracle or Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. The second combo is a Commander Classic, Deadeye Navigator and Peregrine Drake. Pairing the two together allows us to blink the Drake repeatedly to achieve infinite mana, then winning through similar lines mentioned before, blinking creatures to our heart's content. Both of these combos are flexible in the way they can be played, as some of the pieces may already be on the battlefield, in the graveyard waiting to be recurred, etc. Play around with it and see what you can do. Thassa's Thievery knows no bounds, and while you enjoy the value and control of your ETB effects, your opponents will be contemplating how they'll even keep their powerful creatures on their side of the table. A recommendation I received was to keep the cost of more casual decks low, and that's something that makes a lot of sense to me, though I won't be limiting myself to specific budget ranges unless it's one of the goals of the list. Today's deck comes in at around $200 as of this recording, though plenty of the cards in this list are already in most Commander players' collections. When it comes to power level, I'd give this a 7 out of 10. It's not playing the most optimal cards in each slot, but it brings a unique theme, powerful combos, and consistency through its ETB effects. This deck can hang with most Commander tables, EDH aside. And that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you guys give the deck a shot, as it approaches at a different angle than many mono blue decks. It's powerful and fun, and its main combo of Ghostly Flicker plus Narumeha works entirely at instant speed. I'd also like to apologize for the long hiatus between deck techs, and I'll be trying to release more videos more frequently. If you enjoyed the content, consider liking and subscribing. It helps a lot. Until next time, take care.